Namaste, Prakash here. Welcome to the next edition of Dharma Tales. Let's debate. We are going to look at one generation ahead of Pandavas and Kauravas and to see what impact the story had on how Mahabharata actually unfolded later. Specifically, we are going to look at the story of Pandu, the father of Pandavas. It so happened that when Dhritarashtra and Pandu were born, their father Vichitravirya had already passed away, and Satyavati, Vichitravirya's mother and the grandmother of Pandu and Dhritarashtra, had brought in Vyasa to get the widowed wives of Vichitravirya so that the Kuru kingdom will continue. Those days this was permitted, and that's what happened. When Pandu and Dhritarashtra grew up, Dhritarashtra, by whatever happened at the time of conception, was born blind. Pandu, of course, was born pale with a skin which looked as if he had leukemia. It so happened that Pandu was destined to become the king, and he had two wives, Kunti and Madri. It so happened that in one of the hunting expeditions of Pandu, without his knowledge, he had killed Rishi Kidamba, who had actually taken the form of a deer for whatever purpose. And at the time of death, Pandu realized that actually he had killed a rishi instead of a deer, though he had taken the form of a deer for whatever purpose. So the rishi, as was known in those days, gave him a curse that if you happen to touch any woman, you would instantly meet your death and your head will burst into pieces. And he had to live with this curse with the two wives, and there was absolutely no way in which he could create the next generation who would come on to rule. So, as part of the process, he makes his elder brother as the king and moves to the forest to live and lead the rest of his life. One day after going to the forest, he listens to the story of Kunti, his first wife, that she did have a very special boon and she could actually give birth to five children of her choice by calling five gods. And it so happens that that's how the process of she already knew it because she already had actually she originally had six boons and she had used it by which Karna had been born. And the next five, three she used and two she gave to Madri, and that's how all the five Pandavas were born. Dharma, Bhima, Arjun, Nakul, Sagadev, and all that. Even after this, whatever happened, one of the days when Madri, his wife, was taking bath, Pandu was really entrapped and he really fell for the beauty of his wife. And when he started approaching her, the curse kicked in and his head burst and he died on the spot, as it said. And Madhuri couldn't take it because she felt that she was responsible for whatever had happened. And she entered the funeral pyre along with her husband who had died, which was customary those days, handing over the two sons to the protection of Kunti and requesting her to take it forward. And this is how actually Kunti lands with her five children back to Hastinapur onto the court of Dhritarashtra and then wanting her children to take over the kingdom. But of course, by this time, Dhritarashtra already given birth to 100 children through Gandhari, who was his first wife. Of course, he had another child, Yuyutsu, from his second wife. It's a very interesting story, what we have heard till now. What is quite interesting here is for us to understand how did Pandu's wife, Kunti, hide the fact that while she was in the kingdom itself, why she did not tell Pandu about the boons that she had. If at all, if she had shared the important information about the boons she had, might be Pandu didn't have to leave the kingdom at all, and Pandavas would have taken over and ruled the kingdom. These are all surprising twists and turns which happens, and how a king who knew that he had children to protect and make them grow fell for a very normal temptation and then meet his own death. All these things are stuffs that we need to think and brood over for us to understand how dharma and karma always catches up at some point of time. Take to the comment section, share your insights on what you have observed through this story, what it means to you, what are the dharmic questions that come up, what are the answers that we need to find for us to really learn and implement in our own life. Dharma Tales, let's debate. Till we meet again, this is Prakash signing off.